Hey everyone, today's project is going to be redecking this 10-foot Floe VersaMax Snowmobile trailer. Last summer I was trying to haul a very large rock with it and I ended up putting a hole right through the deck here. So it's pretty much shot. So we're going to go ahead, replace all the plywood on this thing and make it look like new. So we'll go ahead and get started by cleaning it up, taking the salt shield off and starting to remove the decking. All right, so Floe was kind enough to put a little one-page manual online on how to redeck their VersaMax trailers. So that comes out really helpful. I'm just gonna follow along what it says to do in there. The first thing to note is it's gonna say to, I believe, drill out these rivets right here. There's, looks like 5 of them across the back. We'll do that. And then this, they call this a bumper assembly. This will slide out. And if you look over here, there's interference. This wouldn't be able to slide out past the rail of the trailer. But on this other side, they smartly provided you a little relief cutout right there. So this thing's gonna all slide out toward us this way. Then we'll be able to slide out the plywood sheets once we get those disconnected. Those are connected by apparently 49 square drive kind of fat head screws. Trying to find a good one here to look at. Just look at this one here. So they have a little relief for Phillips as well, but I'll use a square drive and get those out of there. So it was nice of them to tell us what kind they were and also how many, so you have some idea what to buy to replace it. And then also in that manual they tell you what kind of plywood to use. They say it's 5/8 treated plywood. They give you the 3-letter designation of what type to use because there is a certain kind of treated lumber you're not supposed to use on aluminum trailers because of corrosion problems. So I don't think that they even carry that at the local hardware stores, but make sure when you replace yours that you get the right kind. So we're gonna go ahead and get those rivets drilled out and keep moving. So as you saw there, drilling it out didn't really work that great. It was kind of going slow, so one of them was already kind of popped up, so I was able to get under it and just flip it out with the hammer. The other ones I just knocked the tops off of the rivets there, so we'll see if that's enough to allow this bumper to slide out. That'll be the next thing. Right now I'm just going to pop those, the rest of those rivets right through the hole here. So just use a punch and a hammer. Come right out the bottom. There's the other bottom end of the rivets there. So Floe's nice system here of pounding out this bumper is not proven to be as easy as it looks on the little direction sheet. It's been in here for quite a while. It's been abused. There's dirt in there, I'm sure. I think all the rivets are all the way through. I was able to get a drill bit through all of them. But man, all I have to pound on is this little triangle here because it goes around a piece here that's pretty intricate, so all that friction there to overcome, and I've got that to pound on. So every piece of wood I'm using ends up looking like that. So I'm working on it, trying to figure out a way without doing any damage to the trailer, but I'll let you know what I get to work when I find something. All right, after destroying a bunch of wood chunks, I went to a little chunk of rebar this big. I can kind of lay it right here in this trough and pound against it. I don't love pounding steel against aluminum, but it's all I'm able to do to get it to go so far. I've got a solid 1/2 inch right now, but we'll keep moving. Hopefully it'll get easier as the more of it I get pounded out. Okay, after a lot of pounding, I decided to try WD-40 which has helped a little bit. So I sprayed it in the seam, full length of this thing, and just soaked it, hoping some of it would run into that aluminum to aluminum interface in there, which seems to have worked a little bit. With the rebar, I can still get, you know, 1/8 to 1/4 inch per tap on it. Not great, but it's working, and I think I can keep going with that. Like I said, the more it comes out the end here, it should get easier. There's less friction to pound against. So we'll keep doing that and keep trying it. I don't love it. It is starting to mushroom that end of the aluminum a little bit, so not great, but I don't see another option at this point. Now here's why that was so rough for me. I'm not a very good snowmobile trailer owner, and I haul all sorts of other stuff with it, including lots of dirt and tree roots and rocks, everything else. So this thing was packed full of little rocks, a lot of mud, all sorts of gross stuff in there that can set up nice and hard and give you a lot of friction for pounding that out. So fortunately, when I go back to putting it in, I can get it nice and clean. I can put some lubricant on it. Should slide right into place, but I may have to clean up that end. It did get a little mushroomed, like I said there. Not bad, but certainly not ideal. So that's what that looks like now. Anyway, we'll start taking out fasteners, then we can slide these boards out, hopefully. Hopefully it's easier than the last step. So I've gotten a handful of these out. There are quite a few of them that just come out looking like this, where they completely corroded through. Nothing left of the shank of the screw. They're all pretty rusty. Most of the tops are okay though to get out. What I am using is just a little punch to get in there and clean it out if it's full of mud. That way my bit doesn't slip and strip it out. So the hardest part is actually just finding these things. They're so buried in the wood, and the wood is so dirty and old, they just blend right in. But once you can find them, they seem to come out okay. So there's a little discrepancy on here from what that Floe information sheet says on replacing the decking. They say 49 screws in a 10-foot trailer, which is what this is. I only counted 32 when I took them out. I've looked and looked, I see 32 screws. So must be an old trailer, only has 32 screws. So I think that's gonna be all we have in here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and try to pound these boards right out the back where we took that bumper out. They should slide that way to the back of the trailer. I'm gonna start trying this with a hammer, see if I can get it in the groove there and pound it back, and we'll go from there and see how easy this goes. Hopefully we don't damage the wood and just make a big mess out of it, but I suppose worst case we could just saw it up and take it out that way too. This is a tool used for flooring when you're up against head against a wall. Try that. A little bit wider surface, maybe it'll pound this out a little easier. All right, folks, here's the trailer. all stripped down. As you saw, it was a lot easier just to saw those pieces out than to try to pound them out and tug them out and everything. It was really easy once I set the saw down to just under 5/8 of an inch. Zipped through the halves of them, they came right out nice and easy. So got the trailer all cleaned up, cleaned inside these grooves carefully just to get everything out of there so it'll slide in easy. Look at this, actually this is clean, but it's just corrosion on this aluminum. So this whole undercarriage just got a lot of corrosion on it. And again, it's a snowmobile trailer in Minnesota. There's salt on the roads, that's gonna happen, I guess. So the parts that are above the deck seem to be in pretty good shape and can clean up pretty nice. So that's not bad. Cleaning here on these rails too. The upper parts of the rails look pretty good. So that's cleaned up. Now we need to get the plywood. I didn't buy any until I had this up out just to make sure I knew exactly what I needed. I verified the measurement on this and it is exactly 5/8, so it's 5/8 inch treated plywood. This is the bulk of the deck here, which would be 2 pieces, and the front over here equates to a half a piece. So I'm gonna have to get 3 pieces and bring those back and make them fit. All right, I wanted to make a quick workbench kind of note here. When you go shopping for your plywood and other supplies for this, the fasteners, the rivets are kind of the weird one that you have to deal with. So according to Floe, it has 1-inch rivets. I'm not sure, this one probably matches up with something like that for length, but anyhow, rivets are like this. The 1-inch part would be the shaft from here to here when it's compressed. If you don't have a rivet tool, you'll need a rivet tool like this. The little shaft goes in there, you squeeze it down and it compresses and makes a permanent bond there. This is the only rivets that I had on hand. These are 1/8 inch rivets, more for like bonding sheet metal together. But again, that long shaft would go in the end of the tool, squeeze it, and it would pull that little ball up into there and deform it, making that little lobe you see like there and like right there. So when you get parts, you'll need 1-inch rivets as well. Just want to point that out. So you can see I have my first piece that is installed now. It's 2 feet by 2 feet right there. I also have the next one cut, which is 4 feet by 2 feet, and then another one over there. I'll go right there, 2 feet by 2 feet. Then we'll go ahead and try to slide in the main 4x8 sheet and the 2 other 8 foot by 2 foot sheets. We'll go ahead and start sliding those in place. So as you saw back there, right around here, I had a hang up in the track where apparently something had come down and kind of pinched the track a little bit here, so it was tight. I just had to tap the board through, or a piece of plywood through with a little bit of a tapping block so it wouldn't damage the edge of the board, and a hammer. So then I went and kind of smoothed that out, so when I put this big sheet in here, I shouldn't have the same problem. Now you see I stopped pushing that a little bit. I left about 6 inches or so hanging out. The reason is on these Floe trailers, they specify that the end needs to be routed to receive that aluminum track that goes across that bumper piece. So it says you're supposed to route 1/2 inch up from the back and 3/16 inch deep into the plywood. So this is what I took out, and it's about those dimensions. It looks really close. I think they might have done it with a chisel here. So if you don't have a router, you can use a chisel or maybe even a circular saw set really shallow and cut that out. But we'll do that before we drive it home so we don't have to worry about routing right next to the aluminum on the trailer. So we'll get the other pieces slid in, and then we'll do the routing all at once when we get ready. Okay, so I got the routing done on these edges here. Looks pretty good, so I just test fit this bumper in a little bit to see that it was gonna clear. We got plenty of clearance there. The board even gives a little bit, so it's not super tight, but it'll hold the bow down, especially in this middle, and it's got quite a bit of bow. But we're gonna go ahead and get these pushed all the way forward then, and then we'll get to lubricating this track so the bumper is gonna slide in nice and easy. Okay, the bumper went on pretty smoothly. It pushed on by hand about 3/4 of the way. The last quarter, I just had to use a little tapping block there and tap it on, get it through all the way, and it looks like the holes for the rivets line up. You can see through them there, so that's a good sign too. The next thing I'm going to do is mark my holes and where I'm going to put the screws in. I have my old board laid up against the new one here because I didn't mark it ahead of time. I'm going to go ahead and use this as a template and mark where that support member goes, so I know where to put my screws. I'm probably going to put more than was in there before because I'm using a slightly smaller diameter screw, but that should be easy. The next thing I'm going to do once I get this marked is start putting the screws in. I'm going to start in the center here and work my way out because this is quite bowed, this middle piece, so I want to make sure that we get this fastened and then push the bow out to the edges where there's a little bit of gap in the track. Okay, we're getting down there. One of the last steps is to put these rivets back in place. If you don't have a riveter gun, you'll need one for it. And if you don't know how to use it, there are other videos out there that'll show you how. I couldn't find 1-inch rivets. The best I could find was, they call it 5/8 in aluminum. So that's what I'm using. It looks like they reach all the way through when I put them in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those back in place and see how that goes. All right, now the rivets are in, all the fasteners are down, and that is the end of this project. The only thing I have left to do is to put the salt shield back on, which is pretty easy to do, just a few pins and some screws in the front. But that's it for the project. I hope it helps you if you're redecking a flat trailer, a snowmobile trailer, something like that. Thanks for watching.